Wagyu beef is famous around the world for being exceptionally tasty, barbed, and with a taste that can knock your socks off. And then, of course, there's the high price tag associated with it, with just a pound costing $1,200. Wagyu beef is indeed a luxury item for a reason, as many chefs worldwide are convinced that Wagyu cattle produce the finest beef money can buy. But what makes Wagyu beef so special? Join us in this video as we look at why Wagyu beef is so expensive. It might be helpful first to understand what Wagyu cows are. For those who don't know, it means Japanese cattle. The Wa stands for Japan, and the Gyu means cow or cattle. For almost 2,000 years, cows in Japan were purely used as labor animals. In fact, there's documented evidence showing the origins of Wagyu cattle, which first came over to Japan from northern China around 200 AD. Once in Japan, they were used on farms and forestry for transporting goods, breeding, and even pulling carts containing nobles and aristocrats. These cows weren't used for meat or milk at the time. This is due to the ban on eating four-legged animals in the country since the 6th century for cultural and religious reasons. During this period, Japanese cattle were often far smaller, horned beasts of labor, with various colorations. However, with the Meiji Restoration in 1868, Western food was introduced in Japan. Then, just a few years later, in 1872, the Meiji Emperor broke the taboo and celebrated the new year by eating beef. Of course, this didn't sit well with everyone at the time. In February of that year, 10 monks broke into the palace to plead with the emperor. They said the consumption of meat was ruining the souls of the Japanese people. 4 of the monks were killed in the attempt, and the news was scuttled in the local press to maintain authority. But despite their efforts, a new wave of cuisine has arrived in Japan. Between 1868 and 1919, Japanese cattle farmers imported thousands of meat-bearing cows to mix with their tougher breeds. After decades of crossbreeding, Japanese cattle with foreign cattle, for major cattle breeds were determined to be superior and became the predominant breeds into the 20th century. Kuro, black, aka red, Nyantanku, shorthorn, and Mukaku. These are the ones we consider Wagyu today. The Wagyu's 60,000-mile journey to the United States began in 1975 when Morris Whitney, while doing research for Colorado University, imported 2 black Wagyu and 2 red Wagyu bulls. At that time, no Wagyu heifers, female Wagyu cows, were in America, so the Japanese bulls were paired with Angus, Holstein, Hereford, and Brangus cows from Texas. From there, American Wagyu breeding began its gradual evolution. In 1997, Japanese officials declared Wagyu cattle a national treasure, and an export ban on live Wagyu cattle was enacted to protect this status. This has helped keep authentic Japanese Wagyu exclusive to Japan. However, since the Wagyu bloodline was already introduced in the US, American Wagyu beef, Wagyu crossed with American breed cattle, gained interest. raising cattle to produce Wagyu beef is carried out most meticulously. Japanese farmers hone their techniques to ensure cows develop evenly marbled fat deposits and didn't build tense, tough meat. For the cattle, this means a lot of pampering that could be a dream come true. In Japan, grazing is relatively rare. Even with tethering, grazing areas are only available on mountain sides and in other remote areas where rice and other crops cannot be grown. Also, as each Wagyu beast is extremely valuable and the herds are so small, owners do not wish to risk the physical dangers associated with grazing. As such, most Japanese cattle live their entire lives in barns and adjoining pens. Calves are raised with their mothers on breeding farms, and both are always confined to small pens. The cows and calves are hand-fed on various grains and commercial feeds, as well as a wide range of roughages and forages, including freshly cut green grass, silage, hay, rice straw, and in some cases, industrial byproducts and wastes from agricultural processing plants such as canaries. Almost all Wagyu calves are creep-fed with special concentrate rations from about 2 to 3 months of age. In August, September, and October, their diet experiences a change. The cattle are fed beer and sake during this period because they would suffer from the heat and lose their appetite. The temperature in the cow shed is about 27 to 28 degrees Celsius, and it is 30 degrees outside. They are given a bottle of beer a day until their appetite returns. They get no beer at all if they have a healthy appetite. Calves are weaned between 8 and 10 months old and sold as feeder calves to fattening farmers or replacement heifers to breeding farmers. Wagyu beef is growing in popularity, and there are few signs of it slowing. In 2021, the global Wagyu market was worth more than $11 billion. This was a banner year as Japan exported around 8,000 tons of the gourmet beef cut. The global market is expected to grow by a compound annual growth rate of 6%, making it worth an estimated $16 billion by 2028. Wagyu beef appears to weather the storm despite the food industry being impacted by inflation, supply chain issues, and climate change. From steak to high-priced burgers, the revered protein is becoming more commonly consumed. The reason behind its market growth can be attributed to various factors. The first is being a rich product worth selling in the luxury hospitality sector. Known for its tenderness and buttery flavor, Wagyu has been a fine dining favorite since the 2010s when Japan lifted its export ban to the United States and European countries. Luxury establishments like restaurants and hotels still fuel the Wagyu beef market today, while some lucky customers can find Wagyu in high-end grocery and specialty stores. The market is sustained by a business-to-business model, particularly with fine dining. A large majority, 85%, of Wagyu sales are B2B. Wagyu beef is expensive for several reasons. One of them is the cost of feeding. Wagyu cattle aren't fed like normal cattle. They're given a specialized, high-energy diet that keeps them happy and healthy while contributing to their famous marbling. They get 3 meals per day, and those meals are often imported from other countries. In other words, these cows have expensive diets. And the most important of all is the import cost. Wagyu beef comes from Japan. Because of that, if you want it in the US, it must be imported. There's an import quota in the United States, and once that quota has been met, a high import tax is added to all future imports. That means that the beef has to be priced higher. As a result, consumers end up paying for that import tax.